So today's the first episode with Jessica Russell. I welcome her and a little bit about Jessica because she is, I can say in a few words. Jessica, are you there?
I am. Good morning, everybody.
No, all right. I am going to introduce Jessica in a few words. She's like multi-talented and she's able, she's like a person who can take on multiple projects and her mind works like a computer and all this. Am I right to say that?
Hopefully, yes.
Yes, I know you. And you know what? I'm going to introduce you formal to all our listeners and viewers because Jessica is the first time and she's holding this show for her. And a little bit about her. Now, Jessica, I just want to let you know that she is an international businesswoman. And she has seen the world from the US and she's crisscrossed the world from the US to the Middle East to Europe to Asia. And she has worked with clients, multi-national corporations, MNCs all over the world. And she has done corporate training, she has done individual training, and she has done a consultancy for high net worth individuals, and that is someone that we need in Singapore. I think we need the talents to actually take care of the high net worth of people who are coming in right now because of the COVID-19. People are trying to come and park their businesses, buying their second homes here. And not only is she a global businesswoman who's able to take on multiple tasks and projects, and her mind works like a computer, like the Minority Report, and she's also the top world certified hypnotherapist. And this is something that we do not know a lot in this part of the world, but she's going to dive in as the show progresses, either today or next week, because today, let me tell the ladies and gentlemen, it's a long introduction to her show, Business, Health, and Women. So women, please tune in. Men, please tune in. So Jessica, today we've got this theme from you. I love to have you on because you're a multi-talented woman. You're a multitasker, you're able to do multi-projects and not...
Personally, I am holding out very well because gratefully, I have places that I can escape to. I have a couple of offices in Los Angeles. Most people do not. And, I'm busy. I can work from home. I can come to Singapore and work. And, everything is pretty much online. But I will tell you now, our city looks a lot different than your main city. But in essence, when you go outside, when you know how many people are residing here and you see it's so empty, a Friday, Saturday night where normally people would be out and around or just in a work day, it is very surreal. And that tells me two things, because unfortunately where I am, say the Beverly Hills area, is very, very quiet, and also out a little bit farther. It doesn't matter how far you go. There's like nobody really on the streets.
Like
so most people are, you look beautiful.
Thank you. It's like a twilight zone, right? Isn't it?
I enjoy the peacefulness, but when you kind of look around and you're on an empty road, it's just almost like it's my world and only my world because nobody is in it. And there's a loneliness to that. And it starts making you think this is where we are. But you know what? Bottom line of it is that this is new to everybody. We are all displaced right now. I don't care how much money someone has or doesn't have, what their profession is, what their background. It's actually very surreal, and it's very different for the ego because in America, we have been told so much, especially when this first started. We are in this together. And truthfully, for someone like me, who lived out of the United States and has traveled most of her business life in different parts of the world, I truthfully believe we are all in this together, because we cannot get back to somewhat normalcy
Yeah.
until we have the hands attached with our other countries, because you can see how when one country is affected, it affects another. And in America, and then definitely where I am, you know, we are very international. Our airport is obviously one of the busiest airports in the United States, and we're not really fully open right now.
Yeah.
And so this is what concerns me. However, I feel in a different perspective that 2021 could be many people's best year.
Tell us.
Best year for reevaluating themselves and starting what they want to start for once in their life, or renewing, or honestly with their mental health, just trying to find some time,
Yeah.
because it's a quieter time,
Yeah.
and we're not alone.
Yeah.
And so I don't care how put together somebody is. Vicky is one of the most put together women, but I'll pick on Vicky now. You know, truthfully, we're all affected by this emotionally, physically. It's something that, you know, we're all dealing with right now.
Yeah. You know, Jessica, I think you have actually just cut to the heart of the matter. You know, you have seen the world, you've traveled the world. You've been to the Middle East, you've been to Europe, Asia, you work with different kinds of clients, different language, different culture, different color, different social strata. I mean, you have seen the world, and for you to now being able to assess that, I think it speaks a lot about what you're saying. The truth of the matter that about what you say, what you're going to see to the future from your experience. And you're right to say that, you know, it's not going to be the same. And the world may not operate the same.
No.
Yeah.
It's not just because of the pandemic. I've been to places in Europe and also the Middle East where I'll be very honest with you, because of change either of leadership or mentality in people. I'm a little bit hesitant to go back, even though I have a certain love for them, because their society has changed, the leadership changed. And you know, I just want to put it out there for the people who are watching, because I usually have people thinking that I'm a lot younger than I am, but I'm in my early 50s. And so since I was in my early 20s, I have been traveling. I actually lived in London, England for 3 years because I studied abroad, and I went to the American College of Business over there and studied international business. And then my life progressed so differently, and I kind of veered more into wellness and mental health. And so, you know, it's a situation where I embrace people of different cultures. I love culture. I just love to see how they're different, how we're the same. Doing business with people from another country is very, very different. And you have to take it for what it is and not generalize. But I also grew up, as you know, working mostly with men and people who have power or money. And I've also done things working with, you know, your regular everyday person, but having that flavor was something that I really embraced, and I'm very grateful. But there's certain countries, because of how we have changed as a world, as a woman, that, and I'm pretty daring, but I would, you know, think twice, or truthfully, and I love men, but I hate that I have to say this. I would not go there without having a man around and a national, because being a woman, and also now, and this is pre our former government, with, you know, Trump. We used to be idolized. A lot of people used to have respect for our country because it's overflowed and it's given other countries and nations a lot of opportunity and, you know, financial. And a lot of people love Americana, and if they haven't been to America, they see a perception of what it is, like Beverly Hills. In Beverly Hills, a lot of us work really, really hard. It's not just all shopping and Ferraris and Rolls Royces, but I just really feel that we have, as an American, become a little bit more of a target because there's some bitterness and anger in certain countries. And then, of course, now we're going backwards because we're a woman. And I think that, there are a lot of women like you who, are independent and may go place to place, but there's just some places that you have to kind of research a little bit more. And, if you don't know people well who will help guide you through their country, it's just a little different. But we have technology. It's come on strong. When I started doing business with people out of the country, we only had a fax machine. And believe me, to send a fax was very expensive. And I remember back in the day, we had the cell phones that were like the big cases that you had, like the suitcase. But it's just unbelievable how the world has changed. You and I have seen the technology change, but the people before us have seen dirt roads become paved and, old houses torn down and skyscrapers built. And it's just unbelievable. And we're going, I think, through a shift again. And I think, which is because of the pandemic, if I can say, Vicki, I think it's amazing because the pandemic actually, I feel, kind of brought us back with technology, because technology was getting out of our reach. It was becoming something. Yeah, it was becoming something that we like couldn't understand. Only maybe corporate people running it. And now, because
you're talking about the AI language, right? You're talking about like the Elon Musk is so unreachable, because you're talking about the Elon Musk and the Mark Zuckerberg. Is as if the technology is in the hands of a few, right?
Exactly. And it's also something that the average person cannot touch. We can't get into that. We can do Facebook, but it almost got to the point where you have certain people who were cornering the market and not letting people in. Now, because of the pandemic around the world, it just shows what amazing things have happened. It's just exploded. I mean, look at Zoom. Zoom a few years ago was really small. It was kind of a startup, and now it's just taken over the world. And depending where you live,
you said it well.
It's not Skype or Skype, however you say it, out of the water. Everyone used to use Skype and WhatsApp. So, it's brought technology back into reach for us to be able to learn and move forward with it. And this is very important for women and men who are trying to just start over or create something different, because we've been forced to learn how to do things and use technology where we normally wouldn't have thought of. And you know what? Because of this, it has taught your traditional 9-to-5 worker how to be an entrepreneur. And they may not look at it that way, but while they're sitting in their home, if they were not normally able to do that, or it was different for them, they've never had to do this, it's really brought them into a different phase, which is unbelievable, because you were thrown into the experience and you're your own business person because you have the designated position or positions that you were given from your work to be independent and build it on your own. So, with that in matter, I think that it's a lot easier for someone who is craving a change, someone who may have worked for a company before, that always wanted to have their own business, to understand that you now have a lot of skills that it takes to just jump in and start that.
And you know what, Jessica, you have a lot of topics stacked upon each other that I can not waste time to let you dive in. I'm really interested in three things that stands out. Number one, in this new world for women, right, is you can really craft something for yourself. And you're more on a level playing field, if I'm not wrong to say that. to compete with men on the digital world. Can I say that? As in opposed to in the past when you had to physically visit some places, you felt that, I mean, some of these countries, I think we know where these countries are. I mean, you have to be physically protected to be able to be out there in the open to conduct your businesses, because the culture was different, even though you have appreciated it. But you know what? Our wish is the reality isn't catching up. Right, but with the pandemic, if I interpret what you're trying to say, that, you know, because of the technology and the empowerment of this technology in our hands, as particularly now with women also holding this in the hands of the women, they can start rethinking and redesigning what they want. And this is, I think, something that you could talk about, and I'm really intrigued because your view of the world is interesting. And for you to make a comment like that, I think it's really useful for us as women to really look through your eyes to tell us about that. And also you talked about as a person who's sitting in front of the computer, they suddenly becomes an entrepreneur. And I thought that's an interesting perspective. Would you like to talk about these couple of perspectives? I mean, I always like you on a show because you've got such an interesting new perspective that you can cut through, you know, that gives people a new refreshing look at the world. Tell us.
Okay. Well, okay, so I will get off slightly, Vicky, because you know me, but then I'll come back to it.
I know because you're
Well, but, you know, people will get a lot of information, but they sometimes have to follow around the circle.
Yes,
but
yes.
I grew up from a mother who's an entrepreneur, but she basically had the roller coaster. My parents were divorced when I was young. I have a younger sister, and her and I grew up watching my mother really work her life to different levels. You know, she went up and up and she would fall and then she would go back up. You know, I was very fortunate because my mother she passed. My mother was just a very gracious person, and she was very smart, and she had to overcome more than I have. And so what happened was she started off in the real estate business, which was bringing her into real estate investment, joint ventures, development, working with people all over the world. But see, I was the older daughter and I was the more entrepreneur type. And so I helped her with the fax machines, and I you know, helped that along. But I grew up watching her. I would basically go with her to restaurants because, first of all, in those ages when I was really young, it was very negative to be a divorced woman. There was a stigma with that, which I know you go through a lot, you know, where you are.
In Asia, yes.
In Asia, definitely, you know, the whole area of Asia. And so you end up having to, who had the money then, which in certain countries is still this way. The men are the ones who have the money. They're more high net worth, and maybe through divorce or now through hard work and coming into their own, women do have finances. But in general, the women basically had to work and work with men. So I grew up basically going to restaurants and sitting next to my mother, trying to be a nice little girl and keep quiet while she did her business, or maybe in the booth behind us. And so I would always watch. And with my mother, and this is where it started from, I started to work with non-American people. And most of the people came from parts of the Middle East. And then it branched into Asia. And then I decided, especially when I went to college in London, England, because of my surroundings, that this was something that I felt I was good with and I enjoyed, is working with very, very international people. And also because of where I live, you have a big choice of who you can work with. So I basically didn't work for many people. I always passed my 20s, had my own business. I always opened up my own companies. And I will tell you how it started is it started through, obviously, real estate and investment. It wasn't inherited money. It wasn't anything that was really handed to me, but it was the trial of error going out there and learning. And you and I have the both situation where We are similar because you and I look really young for our age. And at that time, especially, yeah, well, it's good now, but you know, when we were trying to do business, it got in the way and it was very, very difficult. And we had to create an image when we were trying to be professional, just like the person that we were dealing with, which was natural for them. But for us, we were looked at.
You got to fight through that image, that perception. Yeah, got to fight through that.
You have to literally fight. You have to fight through that. And you know, many times I would be in tears because I would, you know, go and meet somebody who I felt was very serious and wanted to do business with me, and we would have to meet at a restaurant. We wine and dine. That's kind of how we
it's how you do business.
And so when we're having lunch or we're having a dinner at a respectable hour with a male associate or a colleague, we're living in the same world. We have to pay rent. We have to, you know, pay expenses. We have to take care of, you know, sometimes children and so forth. We're there to do business, and they're thinking about having a nice dinner. And they think that the validation is because they can spend, well, now, you know, depending where you live, we'll say $30 on your meal. You know, it's not correct. And still we battle challenges with this. And you know,
it's a really good point that I want to echo, and the listeners and the viewers who are coming on, I really want to applaud you for bringing that up, because it's something that is so rarely talked about in so many different aspects, especially when you wanted to do a public relation or a marketing relation with a client and they have a different kind of idea.
Yeah, but and that's where I always tell everybody, and you said this at the beginning, we are still living in a man's world, but it's how the woman plays it. And so I learned very young, because sometimes I would meet the people that my mother was working with, because like I said, sometimes I was sitting there in the same booth and I was being the nice little girl, and they would start talking to me and everything. And I also grew up without a father. And so I think because of this, I wanted to, and there's other things that I don't want to span into, but there was an interest in that man who my mother was doing business with, because I was so unfamiliar in a daily basis with the man. And so I think I took that with me when I was doing business, because I started to understand the male mentality a little bit better, which I really, really am grateful for. But I had to learn skills to turn things around. So they did take me seriously. And when I was in my 20s, my 30s, I still looked like I was 10 years younger. And that was very hard. But when people don't look at the face and hear the voice, and they let themselves just listen to the content of the conversation and judge it a little bit more, you know, fairly, that's when you can jump in and make that your oyster. So I'm not saying that this happens a lot now. It's there, it exists, it will always exist, because the truth of the matter is a lot of men are not comfortable. A lot of men are not understanding how to work closely with a woman. Now that's the older generation.
That's true. I mean, it's like we are the curve that is starting to be seen and heard more, and they have to start trying to catch up to see how they deal with women. And I think I can summarize in a couple of words as like, you were actually growing up in this family culture that you take after your mom, and then you brought these kind of understanding about male authority, about the male dominance in the workplace, and you had to try to kind of like maneuver it, and yet trying to find your identity and your voice in it, and to be respected for it while you're looking really young.
Yeah, and that was oh my God, I can tell you so many examples, but there's nothing I think that's difficult for most men
Mhm.
is when they come to your office and they're
Mm.
sitting on the other side of the desk you own
Yeah.
and they're trying to put together a business deal and ask for money. It's
Mm.
very difficult. And so I'm very
Oh.
aware of that also. I
Yeah.
shouldn't have to be aware of that, but I'm
Yeah.
aware of that. So I had to learn people better. And, ironically, depending on what country the person comes from and
Yes.
how close the culture is
Yeah.
in their normal existence,
Yeah.
I had to treat it differently because
Yeah.
I would definitely work with somebody from, say, Saudi Arabia or, parts of the Middle East
Yeah.
a little bit differently than I would say, somebody from France, somebody from America, someone
Yeah.
from the UK,
Yeah.
even though those people sometimes are different. Um, you mentioned I grew up in a family, or I was very close with my mother and my sister. They're my
Mm.
family, but
Mm.
I didn't have the traditional family scenario. And
Mm.
so sometimes when you actually do work with people from certain parts of the world, they are extremely family oriented. And so you have to accommodate their family in with your business life.
Mm.
I hold so many secrets about a lot of the businessmen that I work with about their wives, their family, what their dreams and their hopes were and
Yeah.
everything. But see, I was able to get there with the people that I work with, and they let me into their personal life. So it wasn't always about, Jessica, I want to take you out for dinner or more. It was
Mm.
more, Jessica, I appreciate you getting to allow me to explain my home or my personal
The respect. The
situation.
respect.
They respect, they
Yeah.
trust me. And
Mm.
I will tell you, I
Mm.
have had that
Mm.
many times with Asian men who
Mm.
come into a conference room with other men and are so quiet.
Yeah.
They don't say anything. And then
Yes.
if I have an opportunity, because I don't talk like I'm talking now, I
Of
listen.
course. Yeah.
They trusted me and they
Yeah.
confide me until my death. And they see that
Wow.
from me. So I think that that has helped also because it allows me to understand how to negotiate with myself first
Mm.
so I
Negotiate.
can negotiate the business relationship with them.
Mm.
They don't know what I'm doing, but it has helped me along the way because business is business.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of angles that you can take from this. It's not all negative, but you have to learn how to turn something negative into positive and use it as your advantage. And when
Yeah.
someone is not that knowledgeable on how
Yeah.
to do this, my suggestion for them is don't be afraid, don't be nervous. I will tell you, the one of the best things I
Yeah.
think for people, not
Yeah.
just women but especially women around the world,
Yeah.
and I touched base on this, but we'll just say a housewife, the CEO of a home. A lot of women who are CEOs of the home, they
Yeah.
don't realize what their capability. I'm telling you, I still understand. It's not that I want to believe, I understand. Behind most of everything,
Yeah.
a good woman makes the world go round.
Yeah.
And when you are somebody who, let's just say, started a career and then pushed the career to the side for home, family, and marriage, and maybe wants to get back into the workforce or start your own business, it is the best time right now. The
Mm.
best time, because it's not about finances. You don't have to have a lot of money now
Yeah.
to start a business from home.
Yeah.
You can excel and you can develop it during the pandemic because
Yeah.
people are more forgiving. People are not going to judge you
Yes.
as much as they would if you had to
And
be
a
out on your own.
pre-pandemic days. So does that answer, like, 2021, like what you say, could be the best time of your life if you are poised and prepared preparing post 2021. This is the best time. Like what you say.
I totally believe that. I totally believe that because
Wow. Great
around the
message. Tell us.
yeah, I think around the world, we will never be able to go back to a lot of things that we lived normally a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We've moved ahead of that. We are
Yeah.
going into so many different directions, and we've hit a curve and we're
Yeah.
turning. We can't worry, even though we have to be obviously safe and cautious of
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
COVID is not, if you want to look at it realistically, going to go away because
Yeah.
we have access to vaccination. It has changed so many things. And, you know, I will tell you in Los Angeles, which is very, very hard to
Yeah.
understand. In Los Angeles, now, first of all, California, Los Angeles, California. California is in the top 3 wealthiest and most professionally productive states in the United States. Right now, our employment is so high, it's almost beyond on repair. And most people are on some form of social or public assistance because our environment is shut down.
The restaurants are shut down.
Yeah.
Entertainment is shut down. Retail is shut down. Service industry, everything is gone.
It's gone. It's gone. And there's no way, unfortunately, how a lot of people will ever do the honest and the honorable thing and pay off their debts because of what has been created here. And they did this kindly because of protection for others. And I have to give the respect for that. But it goes to show you that we have to reinvent. And we have to unfortunately move forward. We have to have compassion for others. And right now, this is why I was saying earlier, if you are a woman or a man who wants to start their business venture for the first time, I feel right now, even if you don't feel that confident and you're not as skilled, you can jump into the deep end. Don't go starting to walk from shallow to deep. Jump into the deep end because you will swim.
Yeah.
You know, you will swim. And if you can't handle the deep end, you can go a little bit to the shallow and then try to work back to the deep.
Fantastic.
But just jump in, you're gonna go. Yeah, you're not gonna drown because people will be there to help pull you up. Everybody wants everyone to have a success story. And you can make mistakes. Like for example, I'll go back when I was a little girl, you know, I would be tired. I was a little girl. I'm sitting with my mother and they're doing business. It was harder for men, but I would whine and, Mommy, when are you going to be finished? I want to go home, blah, blah, blah. Even on the telephone, in America, unfortunately, we're one of the leaders of divorce. So you have a lot of single moms that are doing business. And when your child is screaming in the background and you're trying to be professional, it makes the person who's on the telephone who has the child screaming more nervous than most people that are in front of them. But that's what they're thinking about. Their mind starts, you know, wandering. And it's like, oh my God, can you please be quiet? You know, I'm trying to look good here and professional and do a deal. And it's very difficult because we're in that mode of, you know, stress. And I am telling you now, the men are starting to understand because the men are also home doing business and the children, the dogs.
They're all in lockdown and they're trying to multitask like your wife.
Yeah. But you know what? The bottom line of it is nobody cares. And people now understand it. They're used to it. So things that were not acceptable in business are in the background. Oh, I'm so sorry. Just please do me a favor because you can't hear me. You can't see me. I'm sorry. The gardener's here. Back, you know, the kids are screaming. This is just part of our business life now, and it will be from years now. It's become acceptable. So this is why the woman today who has never really been able to have the opportunity to grow into a business or a hope
This is the
and
best time.
her dream,
Yeah.
is very, very able and definitely capable of doing it more today. Then here's the thing, then she will be when the pandemic shifts more and more, because then the society will become faster and more demanding, and then back, not, we won't be back to normalcy, but back to as much as possible where everything becomes faster. So if you get in now when it's slower, and this is, you understand, this is how business is. You develop and you try to push closer and closer for a release.
Yeah.
So when the time is good, you're able and ready to push it through.
The leapfrog.
You start in a bad time. You start in a bad time, and you try to push it out, because for some people, the bad is the best.
Yes, the bad is the best.
Unfortunately for
you can buy when the stocks are down.
Well, as long as bad is not the best, as in putting yourself in positions to be abused, but that's another issue, right? But that's why I'm saying you can do things a lot cost effective now, or will cost little or no money. You don't have to travel. You don't have to, nobody knows unless I get up what I'm wearing under this shirt, because I could be wearing shorts, my pajamas, or what. Nobody cares what your wardrobe is. If you have to be online and you don't have to go to an office every day, you don't have to have, 20 different suits. You can just throw on whatever you feel is appropriate for that time.
You don't have to invest so much money in looks.
No.
Jessica, this is such I just want to interject to tell the viewers and the listeners, if you're just coming on, you're listening to Jessica Russell, and if you're just coming on, you missed a good part of her speech. It's so motivating for me. Even listening to her, and her view of the world is refreshing and motivating, and she says, just jump right in, because the world is more forgiving. This is a time to actually start right now, because you don't have to have a lot of money. You just try to go to the deep end. I love that. So, ladies and gentlemen who are tuning in and listening to Jessica Russell. So, Jessica, I'm sorry, but continue. I need to welcome the viewers and the listeners who are on. Tell us more. We want more. We want more from Jessica.
Thank you.
I love it. Like, you girl, this is your show. You need to be on here. At 6
in the morning, you're really good for my ego.
You're giving me such good motivation from the way you speak. It's logical. It's not just by the emotion. You're telling us the logic behind. It's not like rah-rah, But the thing is that it gives me such an energy, because your view of the world is refreshing. This is the best time, 2021. I mean, what more, guys? You're waiting for a jump into the deep end, and you're right. People are more forgiving now, and you can start a business online, learn the skills. Right now, you don't have to have a lot of money, and your world and your market is right there in the world.
Jessica, but it's right there on Zoom.
Preach, girl, preach.
It's right there on Zoom. No, it's right here on Zoom. Honestly, I mean, most of the world is on Zoom, and so that has made it so easy for people to get away with things that they normally would have a problem getting away with if they were conducting business in an office with an unrelated party.
Pre-pandemic days. People are harsh.
Pre-pandemic days.
People give you rejection right in the face. They don't care about you. There's no feeling of care. But the feeling of care and forgiveness and being patient and understanding is right here.
Yeah. But I don't know if you want to switch into this, but it is going to also depend, which is very, very important, on your mental health.
Yeah,
and
tell us. We need that.
Trying to purge out the anxiety, because regardless of anything, all of us have acquired anxiety, and there's types of people, and definitely in certain parts of the world and Asia, specifically for women. Okay. The
Yeah,
traditional Asian woman or the working class woman, because of heritage and culture, they're very private. And
yeah,
unfortunately, now you come from a culture where there's traditions of trying to release stress through exercise, or maybe on a holistic environment if you are into that. But it is very important to keep the mental health in your reach so you
yeah,
can manage it and understand how to
yeah,
purge it out.
yeah,
With women,
yeah,
it is very, very important for them to take care of themselves. A mother needs to take care of themselves first before the children.
yeah,
And our natural instinct, if you're a good mother, is to want to take care of your kids first and then yourself last.
yes,
That's not how it works. If you cannot take care of yourself, then you cannot effectively take care of the kids. You have
yeah.
to step off of the hamster wheel, step out of the circle,
The hamster
and
wheel.
take
Take
a
care of
deep,
yourself.
take care of yourself without any shame, without any blame. You have to
Any self
think
guilt.
of what's going on right now and try to come up with some kind of resolution. What we do in our life, in an
Mm.
everyday existence, definitely affects our health. It is the mind and the body experience.
Yeah,
If your mind is not calm and it's not clear, and if you're filled with depression or anxiety,
anxiety or
can
fear.
layer and harm your body. If the body is not well,
Mm.
it could spiral into endless
Disease.
circumstances that
Yeah,
affect health
yeah,
in a very, very strong way. Or the health in your body can start really damaging or affecting your mind, which then in turn affects relationships. It affects how you think.
a spiral effect.
It spirals, and how you do business or how you
Yes.
cannot do business. So all of this
So
is
I'm
really
gonna hold
important.
you there, Jessica, because like the last time when I interviewed you, you are like going deep, and you've got this wealth of resources that I could like dig in and ask you to talk about. But however, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to keep the listeners and the viewers on a hook so that they come back and listen to Jessica Russell all the way from California, Beverly Hills, and she's going to tune in. And why is she going to be here? And this is her show because of you, ladies and gentlemen. So before I'm going to say goodbye to you, I would like you to wrap this up in under 1 minute. Ladies and gentlemen, again, I'm going to repeat this. Come back to Jessica. This 48 minutes just went off like that because I've got so much questions to ask you. I dare not interrupt because you've got a wealth of information. I dare not interrupt. I wanted you to talk about this, dive deeper, deeper. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know what you got. You've got Miss Jessica here with us, 10 p.m. Singapore prime time. Broadcast on 17 platforms all over the world. Please come in and not let her go. And please share and reshare the clip, the episode. And if you missed it, go back again and then watch it again. Go back again and watch it again. This is going to be in infinity, in for forever, in perpetuity on the internet. Now, Jessica, I need you to tell us. All right, I need you to come back again. Now, don't ever I can't ever let you go. Now, Jessica, wrap this up in really tough 1 minute. Tell us your final wrap up, the final 1 minute.
Stop doubting yourself. Don't allow what other people has been allowed to do to you that you have decided to soak into your heart and your mind, prevent you from doing what you want to do in the one life that we know it.
In the one
Think of
life.
your spiritual self. Yeah, one life that we know it right now. Your
You're
spiritual
right.
self can guide you, whatever that spirit may be, your religion or your belief.
Yeah.
Follow your hopes and your dreams. And I am telling you, whether you are in your 20s or you are in your 50s or 60s, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Right now is the best time.
It's the best
If you
time.
have no resources to jump into the deep
deep
end of
end.
the pool, challenge
Wow.
yourself. You will not allow yourself to drown. And if things don't happen fast enough, or they don't happen in a time frame that you expect, that's okay, because you are further than you were before, and
Yeah.
you're on the
We're
road to
moving on.
greatness.
You know, on the road to greatness. I can't believe you, Jessica. You've got to have your own podcast and your own very own show. And I'm thinking that you can be the next Oprah Winfrey, because she's kind of like retired. So I would like Jessica to have her own Jessica Russell show starting from here.
Jessica John Russell Show.
Yes, the Jessica Russell show. You know, I've got so much questions to ask you, because I'm so intrigued by your view of the world. I mean, I've got so many hosts that come here, but you give the most logical perspective of the view of the world, which is positive, empowering through your view of the world. Really, it's not through the rah-rah, to the emotional high, but really to what you just said, going to the deep end, because you can start it really cheap right now, and people are really sympathetic right now because they want to reach out to help someone and help you succeed. And you know what? I have to let you go, Jessica. I've taken you 51 minutes, but you know, you're gonna come back. I'm not gonna let you go.
I know you have me for at least 2 more.
Yes, and you know what? It's gonna be the Jessica Russell show right here, 10 p.m. Singapore prime time, to the international world, and back in the US again from California, Beverly Hills. What a wonderful time. I mean, the Sunshine State. Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you for these words of encouragement. I can't wait for next episode. Right? The JR Show.
The JR Show. Well, the podcast is coming. It's the Jessica Dawn Russell Show, and you're going to be on there.
I would love to be out. I would love to be there and to tell you all my lives that I have lived, because I couldn't. I
talked
couldn't
about
text
it.
Tell you, I couldn't text you. It's like, what's that? That's not enough. All right, thank you, Jessica. I'm gonna see you next week, ladies and gentlemen. Tune in. You've got the power from her. You've got the power from the girl right there. You know, she's with us and she's gonna give us the power. Thank you, Jessica. Let's give her a round of applause.
And be well, everyone, and be happy. Jump into the deep end. You're gonna.
Jessica Russell Show. She says, jump into the deep end. That's the quote of the week. All right, thank you, Jessica. See you. Be sure I'm gonna text you and market you out there.